I'm not interested in this one.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just here for
Yeah,
yeah, I'm more interested.
And so Conor, who has a puncher's chance, none of us make believe Conor can go 25 minutes. None of us. None of us make believe that this is going to be the best version of Conor. Okay? 10 years ago, which we'd have to think is a better version, we don't get better with time. 10 years ago, Conor, who beat Max, barely got through all 15 minutes. An active, hungry, poor, training twice a day, every day Conor, barely got through 15 minutes. So we're not going to pretend that Conor can win a decision. And we're not going to pretend Conor's going to knock Max out. But we also don't pretend that Conor has to have a puncher's chance. We know this guy's good with the hands. The issue is you brought the one guy who not only has never been knocked out, he's never been knocked down. Now, I realize that stat is no longer true because Ilia Topuria did both. But that was a stat going into the fight with Ilia. Is look, Ilia knocks everybody out. Max Holloway's never been knocked out. Max Holloway's never even been knocked down. So now you got Conor, who's got a puncher's chance at best, but he's got to do it on a guy that has never been affected by punches, save one.
The battle is already heating up before the cage door even closes. Conor McGregor has been sending a strong message through intense training footage and bold preparations, making it clear that he plans to bring serious punishment to UFC 329. Despite all the predictions and debates from analysts and former fighters, Max Holloway has remained completely calm and unfazed. As the fight draws closer and speculation continues to grow,
I think Max smokes him like a brisket.
You think so?
Like, the thing is, Conor has the power. Like, that's not gonna, no matter the injury, that's gonna be there still. The timing, a lot of things, other things matter, but the power is gonna be there.
What are the odds on that fight, you think?
I think
Max is the favorite.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think Max is
definitely
one.
a favorite, but
Max is
either
the
one.
How
Either
big?
one, I would say.
3-1? Man, I'm thinking like 6-1.
The odds are,
Max
I
has
saw
been
some odds.
so active. You know, obviously he
6-1
lost to
is
Oliveira
crazy,
in his
though.
last fight, but before that, I mean, he's been looking great. And he's not going to have to worry about the wrestling and jiu-jitsu, obviously, of Conor McGregor.
No.
So, and Max just gets better as the fight goes on. Conor slows down to begin with, and now this is 5 years off. It's just a big up.
Also, it's at 170 pounds.
So Holloway is a minus 400.
Minus 400.
He's minus 400.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
You know those Irish fans are going to bring that line down, though.
For sure.
Yeah, they're going to be betting hard on Conor.
For sure. Maybe wait to pull the trigger on the bet because the lines are going to change.
Asterisk with UFC 329 approaching fast. Michael Bisping believes age and inactivity could become major factors in Conor McGregor's return fight against Max Holloway. McGregor is only days away from turning 38 years old, an age where many athletes begin to struggle to maintain peak performance. But according to Bisping, the bigger issue is not simply the long break from competition, but whether that inactivity has left McGregor.
It's happening on July 11th, which incidentally is 3 days before Conor McGregor's 38th birthday, okay? Not an old man, but certainly not a spring chicken by any accounts, and certainly when it comes to professional fighting. Now, you could argue that he's had 5 years away from the sport, which is true. That's 5 years of not having the wear and tear. That's 5 years of not going through training camps, 5 years of not getting punched on the face, taken down, choked out, all that kind of stuff. The wear and tear, he hasn't been going through that. The man's made an absolute fortune in and outside of the cage, so he hasn't had to do that. He's been chasing business ventures and
Asterisk Bisping also explained that the move up in weight could quietly benefit McGregor against Holloway. While he praised Holloway's ability to put combinations together and overwhelm opponents with volume striking, Bisping emphasized that McGregor still possesses one-shot knockout power capable of ending a fight instantly. At 170 pounds, McGregor's size and strength could become an even greater advantage. However, Bisping also warned that if the fight extends into the later rounds, Holloway's cardio, pace,
and Max Holloway that's been so active, and the fight happening at 170 pounds, I do think that gives Conor a little bit of an advantage there. I think in terms of fluidity, speed, and all the rest of it, and putting combinations together, there's no one in the UFC that does that better than Max Holloway anyway, so of course he has the advantage there. But when it comes to raw, one-punch knockout power, of course you got to give that to McGregor, right? That left hand is phenomenal, whether it's an uppercut, a straight left, whatever it is. It'll put people to sleep. And certainly at 170 pounds, when McGregor's going to naturally be the bigger guy, he's going to have a big power advantage. But the longer the fight goes, as it starts to get into the championship rounds, Max is probably going to pull away with the stamina and the cardio, right? That's probably how it's going to go down, if it even gets to there. But that's the main event there, right? Fair play. The sport of mixed martial arts is a better place with Conor McGregor.
Adding to the conversation, Chael Sonnen questioned how UFC 329 would market the emotional side of the rivalry between McGregor and Holloway. Sonnen argued that major fights are usually driven either by championship stakes or genuine bad blood, yet this matchup appears to lack both elements. According to him, one of the biggest promotional challenges is that McGregor and Holloway do not seem to dislike each other at all. On top of that, McGregor already owns a previous victory over Holloway, which further changes the...
And if you don't have a belt in your main event, you must have personal grudge. And there's not an exception that you can show me throughout history where one of those two things did not happen in a fight of large proportion. So, we don't have that with Conor and Max. These guys don't have a problem with each other. And Conor's not really in a position to act like he does. Conor is a promoter's dream. You give Conor a microphone, 20 minutes later, we're all going to know why we're here, and it's going to matter to us all. I'm just trying to guess what he would say here. Like, it puts him in a really tough spot. It's only because he's already beaten up Max. Not just because he likes Max or he formed a relationship the night that he fought Max. Like, he's already beat him up. What, he's going to come and he's going to threaten a guy that he already beat up? No.
Continuing his analysis, Sonnen also questioned what the long-term consequences of UFC 329 could be, especially for Max Holloway. In his opinion, a victory for Conor McGregor would naturally create massive opportunities and easier matchmaking moving forward. But if Holloway wins at 170 pounds, the situation becomes more complicated because many would assume he has no intention of permanently competing in that division. Sonnen believes the victory would generate headlines without significantly changing Holloway's position in the lightweight title picture. That is why he feels Michael Chandler should use this moment to...
And every fight seems to lead to a fight. If Conor wins, that might be a little easier to do. But if Max wins, he's not at the weight class. So he's going to get a win at 170, and then he's going to take that back to 55, but it's not a title or really a meaningful fight. It doesn't move him anywhere in the rankings. So what do you do with it? I think that a great position, if you just want to know an angle from me, would be Chandler. Chandler should be coming after Max right now, in my opinion, saying, you stole this from me, you prick. I'd have never done that to you. Everyone in the business knew that was my fight. Everyone in this industry knew that was my fight. You're a scab. You went and took a union job. That's what I think Chandler should do. And when Max gets done, he comes back to 55. He solves this little problem with Chandler. We ride off into the sunset. That would likely be the final fight.
Asterisk, despite all the excitement surrounding UFC 329, Jorge Masvidal is far from confident about Conor McGregor's chances of making a successful return. According to the former UFC star, McGregor has little chance against Holloway because of Holloway's speed, relentless pressure, and superior boxing ability. Masvidal made it clear that he believes Holloway would overwhelm McGregor and dominate him throughout the fight. Rather than expecting a competitive war, Masvidal described the matchup as a complete mismatch that could end badly for McGregor.
I think Max smokes him like a brisket.
You think so?
Like the thing is, Conor has the power. Like that's not gonna. No matter the injury, that's gonna be there still. The timing, a lot of things, other things matter, but the power is gonna be there.
What are the odds on that fight, you think?
I think
Max is the favorite.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think Max is
definitely
the
a favorite, but
Max
like,
is the
one.
how
3 to 1,
big-
I would say.
3 to 1? Man, I'm thinking like 6 to 1.
The odds are.
Max
I
has
saw
been
some odds.
so active. You know, obviously he
6 to
lost to
1 is
Oliveira
crazy,
in his
though.
last fight, but before that, I mean, he's been looking great. And he's not going to have to worry about the wrestling and jiu-jitsu, obviously, of Conor McGregor.
No.
So, and Max just gets better as the fight goes on. Conor slows down to begin with, and now this is 5 years off. It's just a big up.
Also, it's at 170 pounds.
So Holloway is a minus 400.
Minus
Yeah.
400.
Minus 400.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
You know those Irish fans are going to bring that line down, though.
For sure.
They're going to be betting hard on Conor.
For sure. Maybe wait to pull the trigger on the bet because the lines are going to change.
Asterisk shifting toward the promotional side of the event. Henry Cejudo said the UFC's timing for announcing McGregor versus Holloway was no accident. According to Cejudo, Dana White chose the perfect moment when the entire combat sports world was paying attention, ensuring the fight would immediately dominate headlines. He believes the UFC used a highly calculated strategy to remind everyone that McGregor remains the biggest celebrity figure in combat sports today.
Because yeah, you gotta draw them back. You gotta let them know that the biggest name in combat sports, his name is Conor McGregor, and that he's coming back. So I want to make sure that when there's a big fight coming up, and all the eyeballs are watching it, and particularly because it's not like Netflix was going up against a pay-per-view or a numbered UFC event. Like, why not? Let's retract it. Let's make them think of us, and that's exactly.
Asterisk meanwhile, Luke Thomas argued that the discussion surrounding McGregor's return should not automatically be treated as a redemption story or a comeback centered around proving something. While acknowledging McGregor's past greatness and elite-level skills, Thomas questioned whether the long layoffs, injuries, and outside distractions have created too many uncertainties to confidently predict what version of McGregor will appear. He suggested that much of the motivated McGregor narrative may simply be promotional hype rather than reality. According to Thomas, the smarter approach is to wait and see what McGregor actually brings into the cage against
I think he's a bad person, and I wish he would no longer be in the sport. Putting that aside, he obviously at one time was a very, very talented fighter, and he still might be. We don't really know. All of the distraction and all the time off and all of the, and again, he had a legit, like, dude, for a sports injury, it's pretty catastrophic, you know? Who's to say he's back to prove any point? He can talk that way, and of course he has to maybe sell the fight, but I mean, I'm not going to, at a bare minimum, I'm going to see what he gives us. Like, let's just see how that goes, right? But I think defaulting to the place where it's like Conor's back to prove a point, I would not make that assumption.
Continuing his breakdown, Thomas pointed out that a 5-round fight against Holloway could expose major differences in cardio and durability between the two fighters. He explained that Holloway's endurance over championship distance is rarely a concern, while questions still remain about how McGregor would react if the fight reaches the deeper rounds. Thomas also highlighted Holloway's toughness and ability to absorb punishment, even though recent fights have tested that reputation. In contrast, he described McGregor as a fighter who performs best early, but can struggle once momentum begins shifting against him. Against a relentless pressure fighter like Holloway, Thomas warned that...
But, you know, like, if it's a 5-round fight, which I think it is, Max is not going to have a cardio issue. I suspect Conor will. Max has a phenomenal chin. Now, has that been cracked? Is it the same after the Ilya loss? I know he's had some, rebound win, and you didn't get to see one way or the other in the Oliveira fight. But, in general, what does that look like? But I think if Max's durability doesn't fail him, it's hard to see how he loses here, because I just feel like Conor might come out looking like, I'm sorry to say all this, Conor's kind of, for the most part, always been a bit of a front runner. That's not entirely true. I want to be clear about that. Like, I thought he rallied a little bit in the Diaz rematch, for example. But a lot of times, when fights start going downhill on him, they stay downhill, right? It's not like he's got like amazing comebacks. He's good about just like stunting and shining and,
Asterisk, on the other hand, Ariel Helwani emphasized how unusual a second fight between McGregor and Holloway would be, especially with both men moving up 2 weight classes from their original featherweight meeting. He noted that rematches under such different circumstances are rare in UFC history, making this matchup even more unique. Helwani also compared UFC 329 to previous McGregor cards, arguing that this event feels much deeper and more balanced overall. With several high-level fights supporting the main event, he believes UFC 329 feels more complete than some past McGregor-led cards, turning the event into a major international fight week instead of a one-fight spectacle. And finally, Teddy Atlas offered another perspective on the matchup, explaining why the fight is far more complicated than it first appears. He acknowledged Holloway as an active, elite striker who has stayed sharp against top competition, while McGregor enters after years of layoffs and inactivity. At first glance, Atlas admitted Holloway may seem like the obvious choice because of his activity level and durability. However, he also pointed to the strategic advantage McGregor may gain by competing at a higher weight class, where his size, power, and physical strength could dramatically alter the fight dynamics. In Atlas' opinion, Holloway brings rhythm, pressure, toughness, and volume striking, but McGregor's physical advantages make the matchup anything but simple. So who wins if these two finally meet again? Conor McGregor or Max Holloway? Share your prediction in the comments.